Hello everyone, my name is Bhumika Sure and I'm a PhD student in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. I work under Dr. Razin Alim, who is the Director of Combustion and Propulsion Research Lab at IUPUI. Our topic for today's presentation is Shale Gas to Carbon Fiber, a cleaner pathway from fossil fuels to the hydrogen carbon economy. Carbon is the most versatile element and forms millions of organic compounds. Carbon, along with water, enables life. So, our main argument is that we should value carbon so much that we should not burn it as a fuel and instead use it to make more valuable products. So, here you can see that the table shows the carbon in different elemental forms, having substantially different properties, abundance, as well as value. Coal appears to be the most abundant form found near the surface of the earth. Its consumption is also the maximum, about 7 billion tons per year. The cost of different forms of carbon vary by a large factor, starting from coal, which is the cheapest, and all the way to diamond, which is the most expensive form of elemental carbon. The other forms of carbon that are consumed in high volume after coal are carbon black, natural graphite, and carbon fiber. So the question is, does it make sense to convert carbon in high volumes to useful products, and which of those would it be? The use of carbon fibers has been increasing in recent years, and in terms of large volume applications, there is a great potential to expand market for structural material based on carbon fiber that can replace steel and aluminum. However, the cost of carbon fiber currently is around $10 per kg, which is very high as compared to steel, which is less than $1 per kg. Thus, one of the main challenges is to reduce the cost of carbon fiber in order to make it suitable to replace steel in large volume applications. The table also shows the global consumption of other fossil fuels, natural gas and crude oil, and also the global CO2 emissions due to combustion of all the fossil fuels. This carbon is not only too valuable to oxidize, but it is also too dangerous when oxidized. It forms carbon monoxide, which is a toxin, as well as carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas, which has huge environmental issues. The idea behind the hydrogen carbon economy is that the available low-cost fossil and biofuels can be processed in such a way that the carbon and hydrogen components of it can be separated. The hydrogen part can be used uh, as a hydrogen fuel or hydrogen-rich fuel in power plants to generate electricity, and it is also harmless in terms of emissions. From the remaining carbon part of hydrocarbons, you can get high-value carbon products such as carbon fiber, which has a great potential as a structural material in vehicles, buildings, and consumer products. US has abundant gaseous fuels like natural gas and shale gas has large proportion of ethane in it. In ethane, about half of the energy content comes from carbon and about half of it comes from hydrogen. Thus, if you separate the hydrogen and carbon part, you would still have roughly about half of the energy in the form of hydrogen, which you can burn and use as a fuel. And the remaining carbon part, you can use it to make some useful product or a more valuable product. So carbon, when oxidized, forms carbon dioxide, which, just like water, has no useful energy content. Thus, if you want to make something useful now from carbon dioxide, you need to add energy to it. So our main argument that is that we should stop generating carbon dioxide in the first place and instead use the carbon to make some useful product from it. So two of the high value carbon products that are used as structural materials are carbon nanotubes and carbon fiber. Multi-wall carbon nanotubes have the highest tensile strength of any material, and they have tensile specific strength of about 1,000 times of that of low carbon steel. Carbon fiber also has exceptional properties as a lightweight structural material. It has high tensile strength, high tensile modulus, as well as high chemical corrosion resistance, and has a tensile specific strength of 30 times that of stainless steel. However, carbon nanotubes currently are very expensive for use in large volume applications, and our focus today is on carbon fiber, particularly carbon fiber from shale gas. Carbon fiber has many applications in aerospace, high-end automobiles, sports equipment, wind turbines, and pressure vessels. And if you look at the different ways in which carbon fiber is used, roughly around quarter of it is used in wind turbines, and significant proportion is also used in the aerospace industry. Some part of carbon fiber are used in automotive as well as pressure vessels. And these four applications make about 51% of the total carbon fiber market in the US. Carbon fiber is also considered as a clean energy technology since it is useful for pressure vessel applications for storage of compressed natural gas and hydrogen. Currently, carbon fiber is only used in high-end automobiles because it is expensive. But if you could somehow bring the price down, then you can use it in all automobiles that are there today. And that would mean a very large-scale market for carbon fiber. Use of carbon fiber in large volume applications such as automobiles provides the ability to divert the carbon content of fossil fuels away from being burned and emitted as greenhouse gas. Carbon fiber is expected to have low life cycle CO2 emissions than competing products due to avoiding extraction of minerals such as coal, iron, and reducing weight in vehicles. So if you consider a mid-sized steel car of around 1500 kg curb weight and replace the steel structural component in it with carbon fiber, then there is a potential annual carbon fiber demand for automotive industry of around 1500 million pounds. Whereas the current automotive market in US is only 2.2 million pounds. Thus, there is large volume market opportunity for carbon fiber in the automotive industry. Now coming to the carbon fiber precursor. So these precursors are the key to carbon fiber, and there are various organic polymers such as polyacrylonitrile derived from petroleum, which is the most common precursor used in carbon fiber manufacturing currently, and it forms the best quality carbon fibers. The other precursors are rayon and petroleum pitch. There is a need to develop other low-cost precursors, and one such is polyethylene, which is a low-cost commodity polymer. The major steps in carbon fiber manufacturing are polymer precursor synthesis, fiber spinning, thermal stabilization, carbonization, and the final step is the surface treatment. Out of the total carbon fiber annually produced, more than 90% is pan-based due to the high fiber quality. So here you can see the pan-based carbon fiber cost breakdown, and the pan precursor accounts for more than 50% of the carbon fiber cost. This is due to the expensive solution spinning process as well as the high commodity price of pan. Carbon fiber using polyethylene as precursor provides advantages of like a low cost and a low processing cost, and also of high carbon yield. So here you can see the different types of applications of carbon fiber. And for the aerospace application particularly requires the carbon fiber with very high tensile strength and tensile modulus. And currently this requirement is satisfied by pan-based carbon fiber. But whereas automotive application are not as high demanding as aerospace applications in terms of the tensile strength and tensile modulus requirements. And these applications, automotive requirements could be met with cheaper precursors such as polyethylene. Currently, carbon fiber made from polyethylene falls in the range shown here with a tensile strength of up to 2.5 gigapascals. Polyethylene is made from polymerization of ethylene, which is the world's most ubiquitous and cheapest plastic. The polyethylene, the different forms of polyethylene constitute 29.3% of the worldwide plastic production. This mass production of polyethylene gives it advantage in terms of low price and abundant supply to be used as a potential precursor for carbon fiber manufacturing. The carbon content of polyethylene is also very high, 86%, and it exhibits high carbonization yield of 70% after sulfonation. So there is a lot of research going on the use of polyethylene as a carbon fiber precursor. What we are trying to do is take a high-level thermodynamic view to assess the energy use and carbon dioxide emission in this entire process from shale gas to carbon fiber. So we can see that whether it is justified to promote this as a way to sequester carbon and have a pathway to high-value products from carbon. So this slide shows the entire process from shale gas to carbon fiber divided into 3 stages. The first is the shale gas to ethylene step, in which the raw shale gas is processed to form methane-rich pipeline gas, and the natural gas liquids ethane and propane are recovered. The ethane-propane mixture is cracked in the steam furnace to form olefins, and the different olefins, ethylene, propylene, and higher C4, C5 carbon compounds are separated. The second step is the ethylene polymerization to polyethylene pellets. The last step is the conversion of polyethylene to carbon fiber, which has similar steps as in the pan-based process. However, some steps are different. So this diagram here shows the cost comparison between the pan-based and PE-based carbon fiber fabrication processes. One of the major differences is that in the fiber spinning step, for PE-based process, melt spinning can be used, and instead of the expensive solution spinning in case of pan precursor, this reduces the processing cost at this stage by about 91%. Another major difference is that the polyethylene is a thermoplastic, so it has a lower melting point of around 140 degrees C. Therefore, it requires some pre-treatment, that is thermochemical stabilization using sulfuric acid bath prior to the carbonization process. This actually increases the processing cost at this stage compared to the thermal stabilization for pan precursor. However, overall, if you consider the cost in the PE-based fabrication process is significantly lower as compared to the pan-based process. And the cost by using polyethylene as a precursor, the carbon fiber cost can be brought down to about $16 per kg from around $26 per kg. And also, if this polyethylene carbon fiber production is scaled up as in for automotive applications, then this cost can be further reduced. So here you can see the energy intensity of pan-based and PE-based processes. This data is from bandwidth study report made by Energetics Incorporated for the Department of Energy. So for the pan precursor process, the primary energy consumption is around 870 gigajoules per ton of carbon fiber. If the best available technology is used, then this processing cost can be reduced to 630 gigajoules per ton. If further the polyolefin precursor is used, then this energy consumption can be brought down to 190 gigajoules per ton of carbon fiber. Thus, this shows us with the pan-based carbon fiber, there is a substantial opportunity not only for diverting the carbon content of fossil fuels into high-value form of carbon, but also by actually having a very low energy intensity in the final carbon fiber that is created. There are some challenges in the production of PE-based carbon fiber. One is in the high temperature sulfonation process, which generates toxic SOx fumes, which must be scrubbed to comply with the safety regulations. The second and the most important one is that the PE-based carbon fiber currently has inferior properties as compared to pan-based carbon fiber, and therefore it is not suitable for aerospace and pressure vessel applications. However, they would be adequate for automotive, construction, and other structural applications. There is research on PE-based carbon fiber at the Carbon Fiber Technology Facility at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Also, there is research at the Penn State University on development of polyolefin precursors for high-strength, low-cost carbon fibers for pressure vessel applications. Just to conclude, there is a high potential for vastly expanded structural use of carbon fibers in automotive, buildings, and infrastructure. Economic viability of the use of polyethylene precursors for carbon fibers is possible due to the abundant availability of shale gas. Pan-based carbon fiber currently has high amount of embodied energy compared to aluminum or steel. However, this energy intensity can be reduced by improving process efficiencies and also waste energy recovery. The low weight and high tensile specific strength of carbon fibers would provide net benefit in life cycle energy use and reduce CO2 emissions for aircrafts and automobiles. With more R&D of PE-based carbon fibers, there is a potential for revolution in manufacturing due to the availability of low-cost, lightweight, and immensely strong structural material for large volume applications, which can also sequester carbon in valuable form. Thank you.